Hello, and welcome to the Empowerography Podcast. This is a platform created for women's voices to be heard and a place to share their stories, journeys, and successes with the world for the purpose of helping other women who might be on similar journeys. We are empowering women one episode at a time. I'm your host, Brad Walsh, so kick back, grab one of your favorite beverages, and enjoy the stories. You've got a story to share, a message to inspire, and a passion ready to ignite. But where do you start? The world is waiting for your voice. With From Idea to Implementation, Start Your Own Podcast, you'll get the roadmap to turn your vision into reality. This isn't just a course, it's your launching pad. Step by step, we'll break down the process from defining your purpose to recording your first episode so you can finally share your voice with confidence. Stop overthinking it and start doing it. Your voice has the power to connect and lead. Are you ready to use it? Join the waitlist today. Your podcast journey starts now. The world is waiting. You can find the link to sign up for the waitlist in the show notes. We'll see you soon. Hello there. My name is Brad Walsh. I am the host of your Empowerography Podcast, a platform that was created to help elevate and amplify the voices of women through sharing their stories. Today, my guest is Sara Furlong. She is a writer, an author, story editor, creative director, and the founder and owner of Whirligig Creative Incorporated. Welcome, Sara. How are you doing today?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for having me.
I am so excited to have you here. We're finally able to get this done. So with that being said, let us jump right in. Now, I guess the first thing I'd like to ask you is, has writing always been a part of who you are, or is this something that's a fairly new path for you? And how long have you been writing, and what was the inspiration for you to get into the world of writing and becoming an author?
So writing has been my thing since I was a child. It was how I would spend my time. When I had free time, if I finished work in class, I would write. When I was in grade 6, one of the poems I wrote was published for the whole school board. It's always been my passion. So I've been writing for a very long time. Professionally, I've been writing for about 20 years. I went to school specifically for writing for kids. I went to Toronto Metropolitan University with a specialty in kids entertainment. And I always knew I wanted to write for children. That's always been my passion. And it's still my main thing that I do to this day.
Okay. And so what excites and inspires you the most about writing and being an author, would you say?
I am a creative brain. So I have ideas and I love being able to put them down and share them with others. That's always been my passion. Sometimes I get so excited about putting the ideas down that I forget that I also have to tell people about the ideas I've already created because the next one's coming out. So that's always been my favorite thing, is it's a platform to get what's in my head out into the world, and especially to inspire kids to have something that they want to read or watch or listen to. That's always been really exciting for me.
The plight of a creative, the ideas just constantly
I'm
the same way. Yeah. It's like my head is always full of ideas. I think that for creatives, that's a big thing, is we'd rather just worry about the ideas and creating as opposed to dealing with all the business side of shit and all that. It's like, 100%. No, just let me create. Just leave me alone to create. That's all I want to do.
Exactly. But that's unfortunately not reality.
Yes.
As much as we all wish it was.
Yes, absolutely. So in your opinion, what is one of the most challenging pieces about being an author, would you say?
So one of the things that I find is really hard is that business side of it. So a lot of times authors have this great story they want to get out, but then what do I do with it? Yeah. Do I try and get an agent? Do I self-publish it? Do I just put it out in pieces in different places? Do I find an editor? How do I finish it? I think that's one of the hardest parts, is how do you turn something that's close to your chest, creative, into a commodity for the world, and letting it go. Because once it's out, you no longer own it. It's now owned by the public, and how they react to it, you have no control over. Yeah. And I feel a lot of authors were very close to our creations and sensitive in that respect. And that can be hard to just want everybody to read it, but also want nobody to read it at the same time.
That dichotomy. Now, another thing that creatives deal with is creative blocks. So how do you deal with those when they come up for you? And what have you found that helps you the most when those blocks come up for you?
For me, it's never force it. If it's not coming, it's not the time to write it. And I'm a big person of walk away, turn off your laptop, go for a walk, do something else, and come back. I know that if I force something to come out, I'm just going to be deleting it later because it's not something that's any good. And you find inspiration in weird places, right? Like your creative juices come flowing when you've walked in the park or you've spent a day with your kid or out and about. So I'm always like, if it's not happening, it will happen again. This is not the end of your creative journey.
Yeah.
Give yourself some grace and give a break.
I love that. I think that's very important because we can be very hard on ourselves. And let's be honest, we are our own worst critics. And so many people, when those creative blocks come through, they try and push through them, but you can't. It's not going to be authentic.
No, absolutely. And you're also then really hard on yourself that what you're putting out isn't good. You get really self-critical. You're better to walk away than force something that just doesn't want to happen.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And so where do you pull your inspiration from when writing?
So mine comes from a lot of places. I am a lover of entertainment. So cartoons are my happy place. There's always on in the background. If you see behind me, I've got my villains clock and I have my Simpsons collection. So that I sit in a room of inspiration for me. My son is a bottle of energy and never-ending source of inspiration. He's actually illustrated some of my books for me.
Oh, wow.
I've taken his drawings and been like, this is cool. Let's write a story about monsters using your drawings. So he's been a great source of inspiration for me as well. I actually have a whole series of books about neurodiversity. My son is autistic and has ADHD, and how we explain those things to kids is something that I find is a huge gap.
Yeah.
Like, how do we talk about it? How do kids understand? So I wrote a whole series, and that's my best-selling series, explains how every brain is different, your beautiful brain in autism, your beautiful brain in ADHD. He's been a huge source of inspiration for me, and he goes through every book with me. He adds things in, we take things out. I found that he's been somebody who has really reignited that pure creativity that as adults we push down, right? Where you get really critical, being like, oh, this commercially, he just comes out with, you come out with this awesome. So I'm like, buddy, you remind me that like a good creative idea can come from anywhere, and to just roll with it.
That is so cool that he is so involved in the process with you and that you get to do that together. You're right. As adults, I hear so many people, I'm not creative. I don't have a creative bone in my body. But when you think back to when you're a kid, those words never came out of your mouth. You were always just creating just to create. It didn't matter if you're coloring outside the lines or using colors that they say don't go together or whatever the case may be. You're right. It gets tamped down within us, I think, or it gets conditioned so far down in there that we forget it's there. We all have creativity within us. We are all creative beings.
Absolutely.
We forget.
It gets taken out of us really early. And then even as a creative person who makes money has to still have people telling them what to do. And that can also affect it, right? Because you're like, oh, that last thing wasn't as good, or somebody didn't like it, or I presented something I was really proud of and everybody had comment. To remind yourself that creativity is always in the eye of the beholder as well.
Yes, for sure.
Everybody's got opinions, and all you can do is create something that you are proud of. And you can't decide how other people are going to react to it because you really have no say.
Yeah, I think that's the key thing to remember is first and foremost, you create for yourself. Then you worry about putting it out to the public. As long 100%. As you are happy with it and you love it, that's all that matters, right?
Absolutely.
Now, what do you know now that you wish you had known when you first started out as a writer?
A lot of the things that I just mentioned are things I wish that I had known when I first started out. A lot of it being that somebody not liking your stuff doesn't mean your stuff is not good, especially going to school for it, right? Because no matter what, you're never getting 100% on everything you turn in.
No.
And everyone's going to give comments and criticism. When you're first starting out, you start to be like, am I actually good? I'm not even sure anymore. So I think that knowing now that everyone's entitled to their opinions, but I'm also entitled to my creativity has really helped me to continue to do things in a way that keeps my passion for it going.
But I think at times, though, there's a fine line, right? Because you don't want to put out complete shit content that's not.
Absolutely.
So it's a very fine line to walk. I remember when I first started sharing my photography online, I was scared shitless to put it out because I was so worried about what everyone thinks. And so I went back probably, and I think this is a very good exercise for creatives to practice. I went back and looked at some of my very early photography work from, say, I did this probably about 5 or 6 years ago. I went back about 10 or 15 years and looked at some of my work and I thought, oh my God, this is fucking terrible. How could I? On the other side of it, it was good for that time because I was at where I was at in my skill sets. And I think as long as we can look back on our work and like our catalog of work and see that we've improved,
Absolutely.
But you also, I mean, when we show our work to, let's say, friends and family, are they really going to tell you that it's shit? Probably not. Most people will not.
Yeah.
They'll placate they'll give you what you want to hear, right? And that's not good either, because you want to know if it's crap, but you also don't want to break your loved ones or your friend's heart by telling them that's
this is terrible.
Such
Get
a
new
fine
job.
line.
Yeah.
It's a very fine line to walk.
100%. You're absolutely right. And I think part of what you said is also incredibly true, which is you got to start putting it out there to know one way or the other as well, which can be really tough, especially as a writer. We tend to be perfectionists in that respect. Like, I don't want anyone to read it until it is perfect, but then you end up never showing anybody any. And like with your photographs, like you can see that you've grown, but if you didn't do the initial ones, how can you grow from that? Right?
Yeah,
and if you don't share them and have people, some likes, some comments, give you a little confidence to continue learning and getting better, you're always going to be at that point and you're never going to get to let that creative out. So absolutely, we need to be able to look back and see that we've learned, but we also have to start somewhere, which is one of the hardest things to do.
Absolutely, because everybody starts from the beginning. And it is a very fun process to go back and look at your early catalog of work and see, oh my God.
Absolutely. And being able to do that also shows that you can look at through a critical lens, right?
Yes,
you're not so mired in your like, I am a perfect creator, because none of us are, but you can be like, I wouldn't have done it that way. I mean, there'll be times when 5 days later, I'll look back and be like, who was the person that wrote that? Because I am not that person anymore. And that's a very short amount of time. So we absolutely need to be able to do that.
I love it. Which authors do you admire, and who are a couple of your favorites?
Well, I love Robert Munsch. Robert Munsch has always been a favorite because his children's books still are magical, right? Yeah. Anybody can read them now and there's still something to them. They're timeless. They're timeless and they still resonate. And I think there's something really special about being able to create like that. Rick Riordan is another person I really admire, created the Percy Jackson series, and just how he took something that is incredibly well known, like the Greek gods, and everybody knows it, and put a totally new spin on that. Like, I love when authors can take something that exists in all of our brains and turn it on its head. And he did a fantastic job of that. They're probably two of the people that I really find have just created those timeless classics in a really unique way.
Okay. Now, I would love to know, in your personal journey, how did you discover the power of your own voice, and what obstacles did you overcome to find and embrace it?
That is a great question. So, I mean, one of the things that I really found has been the recent change to my voice. Like I talked about my son. When I found out that he's autistic, has ADHD, it made me self-reflect on a lot of things that I didn't notice that were unique about him, because I'm like, hey, we're the same kid. So I'm like, wait a second, what does that say about me? But that was a huge something that I really learned. And with him finding out that he autistic, ADHD, that really was something that really gave me a unique perspective that I didn't know I had, and gave me a voice of who I wanted to reach and how I wanted to reach them. And part of that was being able to say, no one's doing this. Why aren't they? And how can I make a difference? And that's been a huge thing for me, is looking around and saying, wait a second, something's missing and I have a unique perspective and I'm going to really speak to that. And that really has catapulted what's made me unique. I mean, I've been writing for kids and I love it, but that's been my unique voice that I really found and has been the most well-received part.
That's incredibly powerful too. Again, like I said, I love that you involve your son in the process, the creative process. And I think that's so amazing and so beautiful.
Thank you.
Now, storytelling, of course, has shaped cultures for centuries. It's women's circles and it's been going, sitting around the campfire, all these different things. What do you believe is the most powerful role of a writer in today's world?
So it's actually really interesting. I'm actually working on a new project and it's called Story A. And what it is, it's changing how we tell stories. So versus giving a book to a kid and saying, read this, it's sending them personalized letters in the mail, one chapter at a time, to tell them a story. So the character's writing to them while they're on an adventure, they're interactive. It's all got customization throughout. And for me as a writer, I feel like the most important thing is not just doing what everybody else does, but looking for alternative things that we can do to change things up, because we've done the same way for a long time.
Yeah.
Kids today have changed. How they interact with the world has changed, but books haven't really. Yeah. So I think as writers, authors, creatives, it's up to us to not just do our version of the existing thing, but to look at how we can change that, what impact we can make on using our creative ability to do something totally different.
I love that. And actual letters, like physical
letters. Sent in the mail. Yeah.
Amazing. That makes me think back to what my aunt, when she was alive, she lived in Scotland, and we used to write handwritten letters back and forth to each other when I would say probably late teens, early 20s. So I was doing that then, but that is lost. It's gone. So totally to be able to bring that back is amazing. Yes.
And it's basically like these letters are being sent to you while somebody is out lost in space or in the enchanted forest, and they're writing you, and there's activities inside, and just trying to get kids engaged in literature in a different way. Because kids that are going to read books are going to read books.
Yeah, for sure.
But there's a lot of kids who aren't choosing that, especially with iPads, etc., that there's quick content. So let's give them something different. So I think as writers, we really have to look outside of the box and see how do we really engage our audience.
But that excitement of waiting to get a letter in the mail, knowing that it's
you.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Brilliant idea. I love it.
Thank you. I'm excited.
How does your creative process differ when writing for children versus writing for adults?
So a lot of it is the same in terms of following plots, etc. When I'm writing for adults, the level of complication obviously goes way up, and the word choices, the sophistication. But generally speaking, I like to treat kids with a level of sophistication as well. That it's like they can follow a plot, they can follow interesting things, but my word choices tend to be a lot easier, right? So when I'm writing for adults, I tend to be like, okay, we can use the big words here. Whereas with kids, I want to make sure that they understand it, right? That they can still be a complicated story, but at a level of their understanding. So I also use a different name when I'm writing for kids and adults, just because I don't want kids that are like, oh, another book by my the author I like, and then get confusing. I actually really like when I'm writing for adults to do like murder mystery type of stuff. Stuff that really has a lot of things hidden underneath is one of my favorite things, is that you go back and read it a second time and you're like, oh, I missed this.
I missed that. Yeah.
Yeah. Which with kids, you don't weed that stuff in the same way. So that's always really fun writing for adults, is getting the opportunity to do a little bit more, those more layers that you just aren't going to do for kids.
Yeah. Now, let's say you've been writing consistently for kids, that style of writing. Is it hard for you to switch gears and then all of a sudden turn around? You really have to think about, do you really have to think about, okay, I can use different words here, I could be a little more complex writing? Is that tough for you to switch gears?
It's, you know what, it's not really, because I also, in my day job, I do a lot of stuff that is marketing for companies and stuff like that. So I'm putting on many different hats all the time. So it really is just making sure that I'm like completely, okay, that project is closed and we're moving on to the next one. It's read a little bit to get me into the mindset of where I was, and then continue on. But yeah, I've just gotten used to switching gears from many directions at the same time.
All right. Do you believe that writing is more of an art or a form of self-exploration? And if so, why? And which one, why?
I'm going to say both for different reasons. So I think it can absolutely be a form of art, because there is some literature that is absolutely that, and is written in an art form in that respect. But I think self-exploration is what gets us there, right? So it's that ability for a writer to look inside, figure out their voice, and begin to write, that then can turn it into art at the other end. We almost need that first part in order to get to the second.
Now, also, I would say that writing quite often is romanticized. But what is one raw, unfiltered truth about being a writer that no one talks about?
Only one?
Give me three.
No, I'm just kidding you. But a lot of it could be very isolating, because it very much is a solitary thing. And there's very few people that you can say, oh, I'm having this thought or this whatever, and bounce it off and be like, I don't know what you're talking about, or I don't know your story, or I don't know what's going on. So you get stuck in this space where there isn't really a lot of support, right? It's also something where you have to do it totally on your own, but you can't do it totally on your own. Right?
Yes,
you need to bring in other people to support you. But there's always that risk that you run, that they don't get your creative voice, your creative vision, and you bring in an editor, and then you're like, oh my gosh, like this doesn't even feel like my story anymore. What do I do? So I think those are probably the biggest things, is that incredible isolation, but then also this, you have to completely trust somebody else to then take it and turn it into something, and you don't really get a lot of say in what that becomes.
Yeah. Writers and creatives, let's be honest, often wrestle with imposter syndrome. What is a moment where you have felt like a fraud, and how did you push through that, or how did you make your way through that?
That happens with every project, and I'm not even exaggerating. Every time I do anything, I'm like, oh, Is this actually good enough? Am I like presenting to a client when I do advertising and stuff, like presenting, being like, is this idea any good? Are they going to think like, why did we hire her? It happens at every time. And I think that's part of just the creative mindset, is that constant, you never want to put it out until you're 100% happy. And when are you ever 100% happy? So it's that feeling of sometimes you just have to press send on that email, just send it off, because you always feel like you could have done more. And if they had comments, you're like, of course, why shouldn't I have done that in the first place? So it still happens to me every day. Every time I send an email, I'm like, oh, I'm going to see that my writing was not as good as I said. So it's tricky. And the more creative space you're in, I feel like you see somebody else, you're like, oh, they're so good at it.
Yeah.
Am I any good at it? Like it's insidious. It really is.
It's a very tough process for sure.
Yeah.
How do you craft messages for children that are both engaging and deeply impactful?
So a lot of that is the vehicle it's within. So like I talked about with Story A being like, how do we do it differently? So that's where you get the impact, right? Because it's something that is going to reach a child in a completely different way. So the actual story itself is engaging to keep them reading, but the style in which it's put in is also going to help them have a different kind of impact with it. My book's about neurodiversity. Yeah. The same kind of thing, right? I've had kids come up to me and thank me. Like, thank you for writing this. Thank you for explaining it. Parents, psychotherapists. And I'm like, okay, I've done something right there, because it's engaging enough that a child will sit there and read it with their parent and they see themselves in it. I really want kids to see themselves in the writing. And I find that's been that, if we can engage them, they can see themselves, then it can be impactful, because now they're inside of it, right? As opposed to just being like, here's all these messages that I want you to get. You have to speak in a way that they're like, oh, this is for me. Relatable. Now I can understand it 100%. And kids especially, they won't give you that benefit of the doubt. Adults will be like, okay, I'll read a bit, see how it goes. Kids are the toughest critics because they're 100% honest all the time.
Oh, yes. No filter sometimes.
No, they'll be like, I don't like this. This isn't good.
No, you've just crushed my soul.
I know. It's no problem. Thank you for letting me know your true thoughts. But that's the thing, is when they actually say, thank you for writing this, I'm like, okay. Yeah. I know that there's no way you said that because you were told to, because that wasn't going to happen. So
yeah, for sure. Do you believe that children's literature has the power to change the world? And if so, how?
Absolutely, I do. Because if we can reach kids before they've formed their different opinions on things, it has the power to teach them about others, about the world around them, about respect, about culture, before they've already formed that decision. Once you're an adult, it's really hard to change people's minds, right? Yeah. Like small children, they're still deciding how they see the world and how they feel about things. My Every Brain is Beautiful book, is written for ages 2+ with that feeling that before kids start school, I want them to read this book to understand their brains and the brains of kids around them are all different. Yeah. So if a child is acting different to you, they're not mean, they're not being difficult, they're not being a bully, they're not being whatever. Maybe their brain is just different and they just don't interact the same way. And if we can teach those kinds of messages to kids when they're tiny, the hope is that those can stay with them as they get older. And when they do get to grades 5 and 6 and kids can start to be bullying kids that are different, they'll remember, wait a second, I remember when I was little reading these books and that kid's they're different to me, but I don't have to be mean to them about it. Yeah, so I do think that if we can get to kids early with those positive messages, that can have a long lasting impact. Absolutely.
I agree. I think that's so important with so many things in life. And I think one of the most important pieces around that is the whole self-love piece, teaching our children to love themselves from a very young age, because if we continue to instill those values and that belief in them about loving themselves, they will just grow up not knowing any different, and they just embody it. If we continue 100%. To tell them and instill that value into them, they just grow up not knowing any different. And that's the key with so many things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that can go good or bad, right? You see kids that get messaging that is harmful from the time they're small and embody that all the way through. So we can counteract that with the positive messages and get it to them when they are still small, and then they can embody that. We have the choice as the adults around them of which kind of messages they want to be their inner voice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What is the most powerful thing that you've ever written in your mind, and did it have the impact that you hoped it would?
Yeah. So I would say that from like my book side of things, Every Brain is Beautiful was definitely the most powerful thing that has spawned 9 other books out of it and had a much bigger impact than I expected. It was one of those things, I just put it out into the world because I thought we needed it, but I didn't know how anybody else would feel about it. And almost 2 years later, it still is my top seller every day. And then I have the whole series that came out of it. So that is definitely, from like the books I've created, one of those ones that has become impactful and was unexpected, because it's niche in my mind. It's not something for everybody, but I guess it is, right? Like, it's become teachers, classrooms, parents, everybody wants to have it available. So that was something surprising for me. The business side of things. I've written many commercials over the years, and every once in a while you write one that sort of gets into the world in a way it was unexpected. I actually did something a few years back, and I don't know if you have kids of their age, but it's called Shopkins. And they were these teeny tiny little collectibles that we did the commercial for, and that went on for 8 years. Billion-dollar brand. It became this absolute massive thing that we did commercials for the whole time that we launched it. And that was something that it was, these are fun, these are cute, not knowing the impact that one little jingle would have on a business. Yeah. So 2 very different things, right? 2 very different ends of the writing spectrum. The one that's very obviously advertising business, really one that was a highly personal one. Yeah.
Incredible. Congratulations on both of those.
Well, thank you.
Would you say then the Beautiful Mind book, children's book, helped shape you as a writer?
I would say that it gave me a focus, because I've written tons of books. I have so many different areas. I have my kids' activity books. So, Story, which is the new thing I was talking about. I have novels, all these things, but what started off as a single book became this whole series and really started to give me that voice and that perspective that was different, which I thought has been really something I've been able to use going forward, is that how I view the world through neurodivergence, and how all of my characters in all of my books have that flavor about them, right? That we never talk about it necessarily, but every character, you can look at it and be like, I wonder. And so kids can start to see themselves reflected. That was really important to me, is that I want kids, for both themselves and others, to see that reflection. So you can start to be like, oh, this kid was like that kid in the book, which is just one of the friends. And the kid had ADHD and all these other things, but just one of the friends group. So that really shaped my feeling that I could put these things out there, and that was okay.
Amazing. I love that. Now, as a story editor and creative director, what is one mistake that you see writers make over and over again that keeps them from reaching their full potential?
Giving up too soon is one of them, for sure. Getting halfway through a draft and going, it's not working for me. Or getting so stuck on something being a certain way and not wanting to hear anybody else's opinion on it is definitely something that, being like, nope, it's my baby, and it is going forward as is, even if people can see some pretty big flaws and are trying to help. I see a lot of writers start there, and they get either not good enough, not finishing, or this is it, and I don't want anyone else's opinion on this ever, because, like I said, once it's out into the world, everyone's opinion is on it. So you have to be willing to take those. And that's really usually the things that stop people the most, is either the brakes or the gas.
Thank you for that perspective. As mentioned off the top, you are the founder and owner of Whirligig Creative Incorporated. Can you tell us about the company? When did you start the business? What was the inspiration for you behind starting the company? Tell us all the things.
Absolutely. So Whirligig started about 13 years ago. Prior to that, I worked internally at a toy company called Spin Master in Toronto. Okay. And I was in their internal creative agency. So we did all their commercials. And then my partner and I decided we were going to leave and start our own company. And that's what we did. And we started working with other toy companies all around the world, Canada, US, Australia, Europe, all over the place, and doing toy commercials for them. And I love it. Play with toys, make commercials. Like, that was our main thing, and still continues to be. But that then spawned into Whirligig Creative Publishing, which is where all of my books came into. So that sort of is part of the Whirligig umbrella. And then Story has come in as the newest thing in that, which I have some new partners for that one. And that has, again, falls in that same world of kids entertainment. And that's my thing, right? Anything that's going to entertain kids, like whether it be a movie, TV show, books, commercials, that's where I like to spend my time.
Love it. What do you think your unique skill set or superpower is that's helped you become successful?
I think it is I will talk to anybody about anything at any time personality. That has really helped me, because people want to work with people that they like to be around, right? So if you can make friends in any room you enter, your ability to then channel that into business, working, relationships is huge. So I think that for me has been one of my superpowers is that I can walk up to anybody and say, hey, and we're friends. And I love that, right? I love to find out about people. I love to meet new people. And I think in this industry, especially in the creative space, it can be really tough because creatives are often very insulated. And trust me, that's my favorite thing, is to be like, nobody bother me, let me write. But I also know that it's really important to get out and meet people and make those relationships. And I do think that's been a big difference in being able to sustain a business for that amount of time, is those relationships.
Yeah, building the network for sure. Now, speaking of success, how do you define that word? What does success mean to you?
Being able to do what you love, whatever that may be. And even if that's having a great job that pays you tons of money so that you can vacation how you like to vacation, or you can live in the house that you want to live in, you can play the sports you want to play. That to me is success, is building a life where you can enjoy yourself as well. I have my social media account, which is Have More Fun. And that is, for me, is let's get out and do things and enjoy life, and working to get there. And obviously enjoying what I do is hugely important. For sure. But having that time to do things you love, that's success.
Yeah. Work hard, play hard, right?
Absolutely.
What would you say is one of the most important things that you've learned in your life? And what was your life like before you learned it? What was your life like after learning it?
I mean, there's always so many of those moments. A really interesting one was when I was in my final year of university. I had the chance to sit in a writer's room for a TV show, and I didn't take it because I had university work to do, and I was school came first. And for a long time, I really regretted that, because I was like, that was my chance to be in the room with people doing what I wanted to do and make those relationship connections I just talked about. And I didn't take it because the responsible part of my brain said, that's not a good idea. You have school work to be doing. And I didn't do it. And that made me really think about my priorities, and to think to myself, I'm not going to let one of those opportunities pass me by again. If something seems like this is a unique, once in a lifetime chance, figure out how to make it work. And that's what I did. And that became my thing. Like when I got the job at Spin Master, I'd never worked in children's advertising. I'd written content for kids. I applied because I'm like, this seems like it could be a good fit for me. And my entire career came out of getting that job. Right? Because I didn't let but this isn't really meant for me. I don't fit every line of
your responsible brain.
Exactly. That's just probably, I am not the most qualified candidate. Didn't matter.
Your ego.
And I got
it.
Ego. Exactly. Yeah. And that was one of those things. So I really learned from that to not send the email, knock on the door, ask the question, do the thing, because if you don't, no one's going to come back and look for you again. Like they found somebody else and moved on. And that was that.
If you don't, the answer is always going to be no if you don't try. Always.
100%. Absolutely. Absolutely.
What is something surprising that you've learned about yourself in the past year?
I can do things that I didn't think that I could do, which sounds, I can't fly or anything fancy like that. But I've always been one of those people has had to really think about, is this something that I should be doing or not? And I just decided I'm just going to send the emails, right? I am just going to reach out to people and be like, hey, I've never done this and I have no experience in this, but do you want to chat? And the amount of people that actually say yes and get back to you, that to me in the past year has really reminded me that, like we were just talking about, like you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Yeah. That I've realized that everybody's a human, everybody's a person, and there is no great wall of this, right? Like just talk to people, just ask them the question, just send them the email. What's the worst that can happen? And I was always very much that. And now I'm like, I'm just going to
fuck it. I'm doing it.
Exactly. And it's worked out. So and I think that's one of those things where it's like, a lot of us, women especially, tend to not want to take up space. Yeah. And I've learned that it's okay to take up space.
For sure. So. The worst thing that can happen is they say no. Oh,
exactly.
On to the next one. And
exactly.
No
you sent an
stands
email.
For next opportunity.
Agreed. 100%. And learning that is a very important lesson.
For sure. And a tough one to learn.
Agreed.
What would you say is one of your biggest life lessons or teachable moments, and what did you learn from it?
I mean, it related to my comment about passing up an opportunity because my responsible brain told me not to. I'd say that's probably been one of my big ones. Another one for me was I worked in the city for a long time because that's what you're supposed to do. If you want to be in this creative space, you want to move your way up the ladder, commuting in and out, 12-hour days, traveling all the time. I stopped doing that. And that was when my career really took off. When I stopped doing exactly what it seemed like I should do, that was really when things changed for me. So I think that was one of those teachable things where I was like, man, I could have just continued going on this treadmill forever, doing the same thing, hoping for it to work out, as opposed to changing something that really didn't suit me. I really did not enjoy that. So I decided, no, I'm just going to change how I do things. And it worked. So I think that learning that there isn't one way to do things. There's so many different ways, and you got to find the one that suits you best.
For sure. And good for you for having the self-awareness to realize, wait a minute, this doesn't work. And yes, we've been conditioned that this is the way you do things. You've got to go in, you got to get a job in the city, you got to do the 9-to-5 thing. And it doesn't have to be that way. And I mean, if that whole COVID thing has taught us nothing else but that right there, if you can take that little piece away from it 100%. And know that, no, things don't have to be done this way. Look at how the world has changed. It's absolutely. Yeah, it's huge for sure.
Yep.
What does the word empowerment mean to you?
Empowerment means you do you. It means to me the feeling that you have your own destiny in your hands and you can decide what works and what doesn't. And nobody else can dictate to you what that is.
Okay, we're going to jump into a little rapid fire section here. So the next grouping of questions just be 1, 2, 3, 4 word answer type thing, okay?
Yep.
What is one of your favorite quotes?
If you want to be a writer, write.
Makes sense. What is one thing you want but cannot buy with money?
Good health always.
If you could teach the world one thing, what would it be?
Everyone's different, and that's okay.
How would you describe yourself in one word?
Smiley.
What is one thing you love about yourself that is not related to your physical appearance?
Smiley. No, I'm just kidding. My sense of humor.
What is your favorite self-care practice?
My new favorite self-care practice is that red light mask. I don't know if you've seen those.
Oh, yes, I've seen those. Yep.
And that's my new favorite one.
Excellent. And that concludes our rapid fire section. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. I created a bonus question that I did not send to you ahead of time. If other people could use 3 words to describe you, what would you want those 3 words to be?
Fun, energetic, and creative.
Okay. If you could step into my shoes, what question would you have asked yourself that I didn't ask you?
I don't know. You're a pretty good interviewer. It wasn't anything hanging that I was thinking that. Yeah, no, your questions were thorough.
I received that. If you had the opportunity to sit down and have a 1-hour conversation with one woman, any woman in the world, who would it be and why?
That is a great question. Honestly, probably Lady Gaga, because I cannot admire enough how she went from here to here and changed her personal branding and all the stuff. I would love to just sit and talk to her from that point of view.
Yeah. I think Madonna was very good at that too. That woman knew how to market herself. Oh my God. And she changed like a chameleon over the years. Just incredible.
I love that. Yeah. And that's hard to do.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And be successful at it. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Sara, if you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Never give up. Honestly, you can make a career out of writing, believe it or not. So don't give up.
That's beautiful advice. Thank you. Lastly, if you were to deliver your last 30-second speech to the world, like your tribe, your corner of the world, your people, what would that last 30 seconds sound like? What words of wisdom would you impart?
So I would probably have to say that your goals are your own, and that is okay. So no matter what the world tells you your goals are supposed to be, you need to decide what works for you, and don't do it just because your parents, your friends, other people are doing it. Make your own path and respect everybody along the way, because every single person is important and valuable. And you need to understand that no matter who you're around, what they can or can't offer you, they deserve to take up as much space as you do. And respect for everybody is so important.
Beautifully said. Amazing way to end the interview. Sara, thank you so much for taking and making the time to be here with me today. I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, your experience. Just absolutely amazing to sit and chat with you. I am honored to have you as a member of the Empowerography community. Thank you so much for taking and making the time to be here with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a total pleasure.
Could you share with the audience where they can connect with you if they want to learn more about who you are, what you do?
Absolutely. So you can find my new stuff on mystoryay.com. You can find me on Instagram or TikTok at _have more fun. And Whirly Gig Creative is my main business. You can always find me there.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Sara. Once again, my name is Brad Walsh, host of your Empowerography podcast. Today, my guest has been Sara Furlong. She is a writer, author, story editor, creative director, and the founder and owner of Whirligig Creative Incorporated. So thank you so much, Sara. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends. You can find me at visuphoria.ca, follow me on Instagram at Empowerography Podcast, and on Facebook at Empowerography. Please join me next time for another inspirational story from yet another amazing woman.